Hello and welcome to this new episode of Michigan's Freeways. Now, if you're wondering why I skipped US 12, well, it is a freeway only in the place where it would meet up with US 31, which is in the southwestern city of Niles. Now, I just didn't include it because it's too short in that portion. So we're just going to move on to our next US highway, coming right up. Enjoy the video. United States Highway 23. Yeah! Alright, US 23 is a route that travels from Jacksonville, Florida to Mackinaw City, Michigan, but we're only looking at the freeway portion in Michigan, hence Michigan's Freeways. The freeway actually goes through Ohio as well, but we start in Michigan at approximately Lambertville, and it goes all the way to Flint as a freeway. Mostly by itself, that is. Okay, so first we're going to be talking about northbound US 23 Michigan. But before we do anything about Michigan, if we start in Ohio, we can see that US 23 is signed for Maumee heading southbound, and North US 23 and US 223 are signed for Ann Arbor. And welcome to pure Michigan! This is the first sign we're going to be seeing over a few of these throughout the series. There are a few ways of reaching NASCAR's own Michigan International Speedway, US 223 being one of them. It's actually where it's going to branch off US 23. The Spur Highway is signed for Blissfield and Adrian. Those are pretty decent because those are really the only things that US 223 would serve. At our first mile sign, we get Dundee on the top line, which is 11 miles away, and Ann Arbor is our control city, which is 36 miles away. This is what the Michigan Welcome Center on US 23 looks like. The Michigan Welcome Center varies throughout different highways of the state. Here's another road that you can reach Michigan International Speedway by. It's M50. And these signs are only mentioned going northbound. As we enter Washtenaw County, we enter a little city called Milan. And much later, we're going to get these exits for the city of Ypsilanti, US 12, and M17. US 12 is signed for Saline and Ypsilanti, eastbound for Ypsilanti, and westbound for Saline. While we're still signed for Ann Arbor, I-94, where we're meeting up with it here at exit 35, is signed for Detroit and Chicago. Those are simple control cities. However, you see that I-94 West is signed for Chicago, which is normal, but I-94 East isn't just signed for Detroit. It's signed for the airports, which are Willow Run and Detroit Metro. Here's business I-94 and US 23 to Ann Arbor, and that aforementioned M17 to Ypsilanti. Here is a crossing of the Huron River. It is our first of two. Here we have a travel time sign, signed US 23 North to I-96, and M14 my home freeway to I-275. And here's where we meet up with my home freeway, M14. It is signed for my hometown of Plymouth, heading eastbound, and US 23 and M14 are signed west for Flint. Here's where M14 branches off to downtown Ann Arbor, and US 23 is not only signed for Flint, our primary control city from here, but also Brighton as well. Now here's where things get exciting. As of 2019, during rush hour, an extra left lane is used to accommodate the flow of traffic at 60 miles an hour rather than 70. We are signed for Brighton and Flint, as mentioned earlier. Brighton is 14 miles away and Flint is 50 miles away. Now this is actually how the rush hour lane ends. It'll say closed if it's not rush hour, and it will say merge during rush hour. Here is our second crossing of the Huron River. Much less wide here. Now the I-96 US 23 interchange is pretty unique. It has two lane exits, one on the left, one on the right. In this case, east is on the right side, west is on the left, where east is signed for Detroit and west is signed for Lansing. I should also mention that there are express lanes on I-96 if you want to bypass the exit. Makes it easier for the flow of traffic. This is what the interchange looks like on Google Maps. It's in Brighton. Here we have Fenton and Flint on the mile markers this time, 19 miles to Fenton and 35 miles to Flint. Here's our exit to M59, where it goes west to Howell and east to Pontiac. It's only a road here, but I thought it was worth mentioning since it's going to come up in a later video. From there's not much that's interesting, so I'm going to skip ahead to our next river crossing, which is the Shiwassee River, which is after exit 80. Now, since we passed Fenton, Flint is 15 miles away, and now Saginaw is our next control city. It is 48 miles away. I've got just one more water crossing for you. It is the Swartz Creek, which is after exit 88. And here we have our meetup with I-75. It runs along with I-75 until Standish, where it branches off and runs as a normal road along the northeastern side of the Lower Peninsula all the way to Mackinaw City. Alright, now we're going to be talking about Southbound US 23 in Michigan as a freeway. Now as we're on I-75, US 23 branches off to its own independent freeway to the right. It is signed for Ann Arbor. With our first mile marker, we get Fenton at 10 miles, Brighton at 31 miles, and Ann Arbor at 46 miles. Seems pretty decent for control cities, I guess. Now, nothing's interesting, and I showed you everything else that's in between, so here's M59 again. East for Pontiac and west for Howell. Afterwards, our control cities go to Brighton at 9 miles and Ann Arbor at 25 miles. And now here we are at 96 again, same cities, but the lanes are swapped. And now, not only are we signed for Ann Arbor, but also Toledo. Alright, now here's our northern crossing of the Huron River again, followed by the rush hour lane signs again. On this example, it's closed, unlike the northbound image I showed you. And we're back to meet with M14. There are 2 lanes to the west for M14 to Ann Arbor, and south US 23 and east M14 will branch off on the left lanes for Plymouth and Toledo. On our merged freeways, we get Ypsilanti at 11 miles, Plymouth at 15 miles, and Toledo at 55 miles. And now M14 will split to the left in 2 lanes. It goes to Plymouth, and oddly enough, it's also signed for Livonia. US 23 is signed for Ann Arbor and Toledo and will branch off on the right 2 lanes. Now I showed you the travel time sign for northbound, and here's what it is southbound. It only shows the directions on I-94. It'll be east to I-275 and west to M52. And here's the southern crossing of the Huron River again. This time we're facing west towards Ann Arbor, but we don't actually get the view of it because we're a little far. We're back at I-94. US 23 is south for Toledo, and I-94 is for Chicago and Detroit, the simple control cities. And here once again we have I-94 East, signed for both Detroits and the airports. And here we are at US 12 again. Now it's only signed for Saline heading southbound because Ypsilanti is a little north of us. And now we have our next mile marker. Milan for 7 miles and Toledo for 44 miles. Here is Monroe County. Now I didn't show you a few river crossings heading southbound. This one is the Saline River, goes through some nice woods. Now this interchange is a little weird. There's an exit further up, as you can see on the top of the screen, and there's an entry point southbound much further south at the bottom of the screen. And now we only have Toledo on a mile marker. It is 28 miles from here. And here's a river crossing that will be the last one I'll show you. This one is the River Raisin. Here at exit 5, US 223, the same city as we saw in the beginning of the video, will join up here heading southbound with US 23. And here we get both shields, US 23 and US 223 southbound. Ohio. Find it here. Find what here? Memes? Anyway, here we are in Ohio, Lucas County, and the Corporation of Sylvania. And that was US 23. Thank you for watching this episode of Michigan's Freeways. Please remember to subscribe and check out Control City Freak. Peace be with ya.